Hi, and welcome to This Sea Ranch Life. Today we'll be hearing from Warren Salmons. Warren is our new interim community manager here at the Sea Ranch, and this is the first time he's had a chance to address sea ranchers. Before we get started, here's a brief message from our sponsor. Looking for a great bottle of wine? Visit the wine shop at 1000 Annapolis Road. Owner Wendy Van Dyke has curated an inventory of everyday and special occasion wines sure to delight anyone who enjoys the fruit of the vine. The wine shop carries distinctive wines from France, Italy, Spain, Greece, and of course Napa and Sonoma. Whether you're planning a dinner party or just need a Tuesday night bottle with leftovers, the wine shop will have what you're looking for.
Hi, welcome to our viewers. You're watching This Sea Ranch Life, and today we have got Warren Salmons with us. Warren is our new community manager here at the Sea Ranch. He just began 3 days ago. Is that right, Warren? About 3 days ago. So he's just jumped into the middle of everything here, and I would guess still learning, but I'm hoping that we're going to hear a little bit about him, what his thinking is, what his background is, and just the kind of person he is. Warren, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thanks. Well, Warren, let's kick off. Why don't we talk a little bit about your background, and let's break this up maybe personally, what your personal life is about, and then professionally, where you've been professionally.
I'll try to be brief. I'm married. I live in Nevada, California, about half the year, and Indian Wells, California, the other half of the year. The latter primarily because I really like the golf available in the Coachella Valley. My wife Susie and I have been married almost 40 years. We have a 50-year-old son and a 36-year-old daughter. The former in Petaluma with our granddaughter, and the latter in San Diego. She's a theater stage manager, which sometimes gets me pretty good seats and cheap tickets, but not always. I was born and grew up in LA, California, and went to school at Cal Poly Pomona, studied city planning, eventually wound up at Cal getting a master's degree in urban and regional planning, or city and regional planning in the early 70s or middle 70s. That's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your professional background. You finished your schooling. I see that you've been in city management. You've been in some other community management. You've worked with HOAs in the past. Give us a little sketch of professionally what you've done.
Okay, it's going to be sort of a two-part thing. I started my professional career as a city planner in the city of Vallejo, fresh out of graduate school, and I'd done a stint in the Peace Corps for a couple of years as a city planner in Honduras. As a matter of fact, I was the only city planner in the whole country, which was kind of an interesting little factoid. Anyway, I came out of Cal, went to work at the city of Vallejo, doing what we call neighborhood planning. And it had a lot to do with working with small neighborhood communities that had often been pretty neglected overall, and working with folks in the community to help them sort out what they would like their neighborhood to be. Did a lot of that for about 5 years. And then I moved on to the city of Petaluma as a city planner and in a management position at that point. And went through the ranks there, city planner, principal planner, community development director, and then eventually assistant city manager in charge of all of the departments having to do with development services, engineering, housing, redevelopment, planning, building, that sort of stuff. I was there in various successive jobs for 17 years. I very much wanted to be a city manager after 17 years. The opportunity did not present itself in Petaluma. So my family and I moved to the city of Dixon in the Central Valley, community of at the time, about 15,000 people. full service staff of 100 or so. And I stayed there for 10 years as the city manager, working with successive council members and mayors and evolving staffing and all that sort of thing. To me, it was a really great professional experience. I got to do lots of things primarily because it was a small town. So at various times I was just about every management department head, with a couple of exceptions. I was never police chief and I wasn't fire chief, but pretty much did all the other stuff when I needed to, and grew and evolved. After about 10 years, I decided that, well, I'd done that and it was a fairly successful run. It has had some interesting times, but I thought, well, I'm pretty much ready to retire from the city management business. And an opportunity emerged right about that time. For me to evolve a bit, but take some of the major skills that I had developed into a different setting. The Rossmore community in Walnut Creek, 10,000 person, 6,300 unit condo and co-op project, a sort of a master HOA, if you will. It's actually a community service organization that was looking for a CEO. Again, as I say, most of the skills that I developed as a city manager transitioned very well to that setting. Big program, as many people as a small city, lots of different activities, a board of directors, in this case 9 versus a city council of 5, and a fairly large staff of somewhere north of 200, 250 people. I was invited to interview for that job. And interestingly enough, I need to say this because this is part of the reason I'm at Sea Ranch today. And I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about Dixon, kind of reflect on that a bit. But the first time I recruited at Rossmore, I came in number 2. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. You know, I hadn't ever had HOA experience up to then. I knew quite a bit about management and managing people and working with them. I was a bit disappointed, but I was still with the city of Dixon at the time. So I just put my head back down and went back to being a city manager of the city of Dixon. And it was several months later, not too many months, I got a call from the recruiter who had recruited the first time. And she said, well, things didn't work out. The person that took the position and the position that was open was one that had previously been occupied by a fellow for about 20 years in one capacity or another. So long time, long tenured, deep experience with the organization, knew where everything was buried, if you will. He had gone out because of a medical reason, and that the recruitment was to replace him. The person that was selected was ultimately terminated after a short period, maybe 4 or 5 months. They started the process again. Each time I came out to be number 1, and they said, okay, can you come to work for us? So I did that for 8 years on contract. And so it was a really good experience. A bit about Rossmore. It is 18 HOAs, homeowners associations, under an umbrella of the thing called the Golden Rain Foundation, which is a corporation, a foundation, a not-for-profit mutual benefit corporation, and this thing called a community service organization under the Davis-Sterling Act, which people in Sea Ranch will recognize. And it managed, owned, operated, maintained, built all the facilities common to all the other 18 HOAs, or common to all of the HOAs. And it managed 17 out of the 18 HOAs. One was a congregate care facility that had its own on-site manager, 300 units, high-rise building. So we were project managing thousands of units. We were also taking care of the community, 1,800 acres, open space, parks, golf courses, pools, all that stuff. A transportation system, a TV station, a newspaper, you name it, we had it. So that was Rossmore. And after 8 years, I felt, okay, I think I've done this. And I was, I believe, in my late 60s at the time. And so at that point, I said, I want to retire. And I did so. And that's kind of in the rearview mirror. I'm going to back up to Dixon just for a moment. My tenure there started on the heels of a 20-year city manager who had essentially grown up with the community, again, knew where everything was, knew the whole setup, was respected in the community, revered by some, and some others not so much.
Sure.
But at that point, and as a city manager, 20 years is a heck of a career. 3 years is sort of a shelf life, a typical shelf life. So he had far surpassed his typical shelf life. But at that point, politics changed, things changed. They needed somebody new. I was the new person. Fresh start, if you will. It's kind of like the only thing I know about electronics is if I can't do anything else, I reboot.
Right.
This, in both of these cases, we rebooted, or the community rebooted. Those two things have a lot to do with why I'm here today talking to you.
Right. Right. So
Long answer, sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. Thank you. That's very, very complete. So, tell me quickly or briefly, how did you hear about this opportunity here at the Sea Ranch? I've been given to understand we had, I believe, several sea ranchers who were being considered, folks who lived here being considered. Yes. But you weren't a Sea Ranch resident. So how did you even hear about this? How did you get interested?
Well, briefly, since retirement, I've done a little bit of consulting, basically with boards of directors and some cities of doing some evaluation of people and processes and things like that. Very small amount. So kind of kept my finger in a little bit. I wasn't looking for work. A friend of mine, a long time acquaintance way back in my history, is a Sea Ranch property owner and sent me an email and said, Warren, look at this. Maybe you're interested. Sent me a copy of the flyer or whatever you call it. And I said, I can do that stuff. So I sent a resume in and here we are.
Wonderful. Thanks. Well, hats off to your friend for alerting you there.
The jury's still out on that. Maybe about 6 months from now, I'll know whether I really want to say thank you or not.
That's true. I think that's true in every walk of life. That's true.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to a positive experience.
Absolutely. We all are. So tell me about developing a relationship with sea ranchers. As sea ranchers, I'm sure like many HOAs, we all think we know how to do your job better than you do. But yet we enjoy knowing our community manager, and many of us over the years have had relationships, both professional and sometimes personal, sometimes friendships with our community managers. We value a relationship with our community manager. How do you see that? Where will you go with that? Any thoughts right off the bat on how you might welcome us all in, welcome you, how we can welcome you in, and vice versa?
Well, first of all, I don't think anybody or I could do the job just going into an office and sitting in the office and sort of, trying to manage some sort of isolated place or do it by Zoom or remote. So I think presence is really important. There's some challenges because of the housing situation, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But my approach is doing things like we're doing today, letting people know that I'm available, that they can talk to me. I don't have horns or a tail, and I'm pretty open. I appreciate people letting me know what they think I need to know, because lots of different perspectives kind of give me a blend of what the situation is. Take a little here, a little there, In my history, when I was at Rossmore, I literally had an open door, and some of the seniors particularly took advantage every week, come in and let me know how I should be doing my job better. I probably don't have a lot of time for that, but there's some time for that. I'd love to be able to invited to clubs and organizations where I could see 10 to 100 people at any given time for a little while, and they could see me and we could talk about things. Of course, committees, you've got lots of committees, and I've just this morning reached out to the chair people of the policy committees. I've learned that there are 3 of those, and I want to start setting up times for them to meet with me, and then eventually members of those committees. I'm doing a series of meetings with the board, obviously, and asking, maybe I haven't asked everyone yet, but I'm going to ask every board member who I should see and talk to that I might not otherwise know about, and sort of do a sort of second tier of folks, not the sort of the usual suspects that are on committees and various things.
Right.
At Rochmore, I used to do a thing called Word with Warren, where we had active clubhouses, and I would once a year I would schedule 30 meetings for an hour each at various places in the community, and sit down and have my coffee and wait for people to drop in. We called it Word with Warren, and I learned a lot, and I met some people that I never would have met otherwise. I'm open to a lot of stuff. I write a little bit, not necessarily regularly, but I'm willing to do that.
Wonderful.
Lots of ways.
Yeah, sounds like that's a whole number of approaches that you could use. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, you've been here 3 days, 4 days on the job, so this may not be an entirely fair question, but what's your focus and what are your priorities? I know that's a hard thing. You've just arrived, but if you can formulate something about what you think the priorities may be for you as the community manager.
Well, you told me this question was going to come, so I thought about it a little bit beforehand, and I've got some notes written down. So if I'm looking down, it's not because I'm doing avoidance here. It's because I'm looking at some notes.
We're good with that.
Okay. Well, what I would like to call these are objectives after 4 days.
Yeah, sure.
My objective 1 is to work myself out of a job. And to do that, I need to work with the board to navigate the process, whatever that's going to look like, to find the new long-term or permanent, however you want to describe it, community manager. That's, to me, that's objective 1, why I'm here. I'm interim. And by the way, we didn't say that at the beginning, but I'll emphasize, I'm an interim person. I don't want a long-term situation, and I want to be helpful in moving through the process. So number 1.
Okay.
The second thing in my mind is, this is kind of based on some of my experiences before, is to be sort of a calming influence and provide a sort of steady hand on the tiller, if you will, to help people feel that, okay, we don't have to be too concerned. There's somebody there who knows what they're doing, who's focused, and can be sort of a calming influence. Like I used to say to people when in a city business we ran a water system, and I said, you don't want to have people wondering about when they turn the tap on every time whether it's going to be okay. Yeah, they don't need to worry about it. So positive leadership, and that goes for the community, staff, and the board, and whoever else might be looking. That we'll call them stakeholders, and it could be vendors. Maybe maybe they need some reassurance about how things are here too.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. Number 3, we exist. The staff exists in the organization to a great degree to provide programs and services, the stuff that helps the community. Whether it's mowing the grass along the side of the road or cleaning the clubhouse or reviewing applications for building or modifications. Those are services and programs that are basically routine. They should be routine. We've got to keep doing them, and that's the basis of the basic of what we're here for. I want those things to become and be or stay basic and routine and dependable, just so that, again, we can give people confidence that the association is doing the things it's supposed to do to maintain the community and the environment that people have. That's the third. The fourth thing is in consultation with stakeholders, board, committees, staff, members. I'll call you back here. Stakeholders, if we can identify some things that we might do along the way in the time available after all these other things are being done to improve the organization or the effort that we're putting out. Okay, fine, we can do that. And I've got an example. After 3 days, I formed an opinion about part of what we need to do that. This is the other stuff. And I think that it's pretty clear that our staffing level is really low. We have
very low
count. I'm not sure the exact count, 25 or 30% vacancies, and some really key people are missing in the organization. We need to work on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, everyone has, thanks. Those are really good. Those are that nice four-part objectives, we'll call them, four-part objectives. That when you mention staff and vacancies, that kind of leads to a little bit of discussion that I wanted to have, which most of us are aware that, yeah, we've got 25-30% vacancies with budgeted positions. Our FTEs number that we budgeted is there, but we don't have that many human beings, qualified human beings in those spots. So how will you approach that, and what are your thoughts about that? At the same time, that much change for the staff, my own, and I think others share this, there's been a fair amount of upheaval that staff has felt. And I would say at times there's been disappointment, or possibly some people felt demoralized even. Just a lot of change in a workplace, the way any of us would feel in any job if there was a lot of turnover and a lot of change. But what do you think you can do, given you've got this 6-ish month period? Can you help us through, to backfill those positions, to rebuild some confidence within the staff? What do you see yourself as being able to do?
Well, I think as a group, we have to do a certain. I think that as a group, we have to do a certain amount of that. I don't know quite how far we'll be along the way. I will say that I haven't started extended conversations with staff yet. Okay. I plan to hold an all-hands meeting just to say, what does this character look like and what does he sound like? So it's for everybody, management, mid-management, doing what we're doing today and talking about what I need to know from them about the circumstances and how they're feeling, what's going on, and then try to identify those positions that are, I'll call them gotta-haves. There's maybe some nice-to-haves, but there are definitely some gotta-haves. Yeah. And try to identify those and do our best. And we're in a very difficult environment. I mean, not only in the world is the environment of employment changing, or maybe changed radically just in the last few years, and maybe still evolving, but Sea Ranch, just by its physical location, is in a very unique place too. If we're going to fill some positions, we got to get more creative in what we're doing. I just don't, otherwise the pool of people may not be broad enough or sufficient to do what we need to do. So more talking, more thinking about who and what and how, yet to be determined. I don't have any solutions. There were easy ones. Somebody already have done it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think you're right. We are in a challenging, geographically and demographically, we're in a challenging area here at Sea Ranch, and
I'm experiencing myself. I'm struggling to find something to live, something small. I'm going to be there 4 or 5 nights a week. My family's not going to be there, so word out. If anybody has an attic or something, let me know.
Yeah, the word has gone out, and I have personally heard of several people who are knocking on a couple of doors with you in mind to see
That would be
if there's some spots, some homes, or whatever that can
much appreciated.
that can be yours for the next several months and everything.
Good.
I'm going to ask one other question, and again, this one may be a little unfair because you haven't been here for the last couple of years, and I would say, particularly during the pandemic, we faced, as a community, we faced what I think every community in America, in fact, every family in America, the pandemic put a lot of stresses. None of us thought, didn't occur to any of us that a virus could so completely change our lives, and whether it's in our own household, in our neighborhood, in our community, in our country, really. But I think, like a lot of other communities, we've found ourselves polarized in a lot of ways. Not to say that sea ranchers have all had unanimous agreement on everything. I don't think we've ever been like that. I don't think any community is, but that the polarization has become.
I would doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it. But it's become, a lot of people sense that it's very divisive in nature and in many cases emotional. Is that anything, and here's the unfair part of the question, is that anything you can do much about, given that you're here for a period of months?
Yeah.
And just your thoughts on that.
Well, this is based on my experience, let's just put it this way.
Okay.
Going into situations where there was some angst in the community, and maybe division about, policy philosophies and things like that. Some things that can be done. I'm speculating here. First of all, recognize that differences of opinion are, that's SOP. We're going to find that.
Yeah.
We'll also find that, I think, in the Sea Ranch community, with highly educated folks, folks with time available, with great skills at communications and social interaction, that the conversations will be at a high level, that they will be plentiful, that they will be, interesting. On for all evaluating all aspects of everything, maybe pretty finely ground. When I had 10,000 seniors at Roxmoor, we did a lot of that. They had lots of time and lots of education and experience, and so I kind of had a bit of that. At the end of the day, and this is more from my city management days, I had to recognize that no matter what we did, there were going to be some small portion of the community who was never going to see the glass half full. Always more empty than full. They weren't going to have a nice day no matter what. Sun wouldn't shine, etc. So we're going to find some of those. I don't know who they are, but every community's going to have them. We're going to have some folks that will probably be willing to talk about issues and various things, but unless it comes out their way, again, they're not going to be very happy. And then I think a lot of people are going to be in the camp of, if I have the confidence that my leadership, staff, or commission, whatever, doing a pretty good job, I'm fine, because I've got other things I'd rather be doing. Enjoying life, the tranquility and the beauty and whatever else about life that gets them up. That's where they're going to be. So I see that sort of thing in just about any community that you could name. It's a big bell curve, and there's some people at both ends and a lot of people. Yeah. Part of our challenge too, I think, and especially in these next 6 months, is recognizing the limitations on how much we can actually be judicious. We can't avoid some stuff that we have to do. There will be things, and maybe no way we can even articulate what those might be today. They might just fall out of the sky on us. But to the degree we can make choices about where we put our energy, and that's what I'm hoping to learn in the early stages of this 6-month period or so that I can encourage and guide the board and the community to focusing on those things where we really need to put our energy. Not to say all these other possibilities don't have a place in time. A colleague of mine in Roxmore used to say, you know, we can do almost anything, but we can't do everything. And maybe eventually we can do everything, but we can't do everything simultaneously. So being judicious about our endeavors is important too. I had another thought that.
Yeah, feel free.
Just kind of reflecting on the little bit I've learned so far. I've learned that Sea Ranch and the community and its leadership have had the capacity to do some amazing things.
Absolutely.
Is it Access? Sea Ranch Access?
Yeah, Sea Ranch Connect. Yeah.
What an amazing accomplishment. And I know just enough to be dangerous about that history was all evolved. But I do know that it happened. Maybe it took a while, but it happened, and it was a tremendous benefit for the community that's been proven more recently.
Yeah.
Really. So Sea Ranch as a community is what we might want to do when we're endeavoring to do some amazing things is to figure out how we got that last amazing thing done and sort of model on that. Like,
there you go.
There's a way to do this, and we did it. Maybe there are a couple of models. I don't know.
Yeah.
Back on some success.
Yeah. Good point.
So, you know, we can learn how to do some complicated things going forward by maybe reflecting on not the specifics, but the generalities of how we got these really cool, important things in the past.
Yeah, fantastic. Warren, I'm going to thank you for your time now. We've gone to a nice amount, and really appreciated hearing from you. I know our viewers are just going to really get a lot out of the 30 or 40 minutes we've had here together. I do want to wish you the very best, and certainly, I really appreciate your points on reaching out to Sea Ranch members in all the various ways, and I hope all of our viewers will take a moment to introduce themselves to you at some point in some fashion, and just appreciate your time a bunch.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. I enjoy being offered the opportunity to talk to you. Generally, my charge is a cup of coffee, but since we're remote, that isn't possible. So just remember, you owe me a good cup of coffee somewhere, sometime.
I'm pretty sure we can do that. Maybe even 2 cups of coffee.
Cool.
All right. Warren, thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
Take care.
This has been a conversation with Warren Salmons, the new interim community manager here at the Sea Ranch. Today's program was sponsored by the Wine Shop at 1000 Annapolis Road. You've been watching This Sea Ranch Life. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time.